Hi everybody and welcome to the Easter edition of the AlpaCafé. We again have some interesting topics today. So we will start again with the recent issues and then have some updates on the performance. We have a new feature to specify the SyncMode and AppScope for the artifacts. We also have a feature to customize the app templates, which we will show you. And at the end, then we will show you how you can publish artifacts after the compilation happened. And I will give you some updates on the documentation, especially for GitHub. Okay, so again, here in this meeting, we want to learn from you, we want to exchange with you. We want to learn how you use Alpaca and how we can improve on that. So that's why we are doing this meeting every month. We also mark each topic with the logo for GitHub or for Azure DevOps, and also with the logo for the Cosmo Alpaca or the Cosmo Alpaca preview extension. So you always know which features available in which edition. If you have any questions during the meeting, then feel free to use the Q&A tab to ask your questions, and we are going to answer them. So let's start with the recent issues and fixes. The first one is that we recently had some issues with the Cosmo internal NuGet feeds. So for one, the downloads that are started from VS Code didn't work properly. And the second one was that, especially with test apps from Cosmo products, there were some issues that the wrong apps have been downloaded. And that's something we are still working on, and yeah, we'll keep you up to date on that. The second one are the localization pipelines. There was an issue which prevented the publishing of the test app to happen. Just that one is fixed. The third one was that the default branch wasn't respected when loading the repository list in the VS Code extension. This is now also fixed. And last one was that sometimes containers were shown not at all or even twice in the VS Code extension. This issue was fixed by us as well. And Philip will give some updates on performance.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So in the previous AlpaCafé, we already talked about and spoiled some upcoming improvements on performance, and I want to give a short update on that one. So we did a deep analysis on, especially on the container startup times, which we know is a pain point for many of our users. And we identified that major time-consuming steps are the pulling of the BC container images and importing the artifacts during the container startup. For the first part, for the first time-consuming step, the image pulling, we optimized the version matching for the BC versions. So we reduced the image variance between all the containers are running on our infrastructure, so that the network bottlenecks on pulling a lot of different images at the same time are a bit reduced. And which is what is currently still work in progress, is we want to further optimize the image builds, so we can even further reduce the image variance in the backend. All of these will likely have no impact on your end, but a lot on our backend, and reduce the number of images which have to be pulled. And another step which is currently still in progress is we try to parallelize the download and installation of the artifacts during the container startup. So this will also improve the startup time, which is now quite can take up a lot of time right now if you have many artifacts in your project. And another thing what we want to mention as a recommendation is that SaaS projects should always use the latest BC version. In the screenshot of the Cosmo JSON I put on the slide, you can see a minimal configuration, which is sufficient for SaaS projects. So we have on the current property only the country specified, and for next major and next minor additionally the select, but this configuration is sufficient to receive the latest BC version for SaaS projects. So we advise you that to use a configuration like this. So each time a new BC version is released, your pipelines and dev containers will immediately use the new BC version as soon as it's available. And from that on, that's it for the updates for now. We will update you with the next AlpaCafés on the next progress steps on the performance side.
Yeah. Next up is the per artifact SyncMode. Khalil will present it.
Hello together. Now we will present you a new feature in our configuration model, that is the ability to set import properties in the Cosmo JSON globally and per artifact. At the global level, like you see in the image, we can define defaults. For example, what we have app import scope as tenant and SyncMode as forcing, and this will automatically apply to all artifacts unless there are overridden. Exceptions can be handled by specifying overrides in the artifact definition. Yeah. For instance, if a particular artifact, like licensing test library, needs to have differently sync mode, you can define it and it will be a exception. And this is hierarchically configured so that it can be overridden. Yes, global values cover the common ground, also that at the top level, and while artifacts can be fine-tuned where is necessary. Yes, this feature will be in the will be there in the next release. Yes, another feature that we will present, yes, is the customization of the default template values for in the creation of new app repos. To do this, as requested from our customer, you just need to add a config map in the customer configuration repository, and inside this config map, the customer can set values such as apps name, publisher, help, and like this. There is also support for the logo URL, which will automatically be downloaded and included in the new repo. Yes, we can see the docu of this feature in the docs, in the Cosmo console docs. I will share my screen. Yes. Yes, it's to find here on the administration. Here you can see you can also have the example config map so that you can copy it and create a custom one. Yeah. Thank you.
Next up is Ode, I think.
I also think so. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I will talk about publishing artifacts after the app compilation. We already showed you some features that were already released. Can you go to the next? Can I go to the next page? In February, we already showed you the foundation for this. I will go over it again. It is right now possible to set depends on per artifact. Right now, it's only supported value is app. If you have suggestions for more, please feel free to contact us. All artifacts are still downloaded on Container Startup and are organized on subdirectories based on depends on. It's in the general folder for if depends on is missing, or in a subfolder dependent on depends on in the container. So on startup, only artifacts without depends on can be installed from the general directory. And we had the foundations to install the other artifacts at a later point. And this later point is now implemented into the build pipeline in Azure DevOps. We added a new step, publish apps depending on app to Azure DevOps build pipeline. And there will be, in this step, all artifacts that have depends on app will be published in this step. And then tests and so on can be validated afterwards. Yeah, that's it for this feature. As I said, if you have some other hooks where you want to, or dependencies that you think you need, then feel free to create a feature request for this. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Ode. Okay, so I will share some updates in the documentation. We put some work into updating the documentation, especially because of the support for GitHub, but also used the opportunity to rework a little bit. We reworked the table of content and shortened the titles a little bit and adapted the wording to work for both Azure DevOps and GitHub in the future. Also, each documentation page got a tab for each Azure DevOps and GitHub, so you can always switch between those two, and you always see what you need to set up for the respective platform. And yeah, put some effort into documenting the first GitHub features or stuff. And I can also quickly show you how it looks now. It's fine. Yes, so the table of content is a little bit refreshed. We organized that in different sections now to be a little bit more concise, a little bit more short titles, so you can quickly find the stuff you're looking for. And if you are going to the different pages, then you will see we often have the tabs here for GitHub and for Azure DevOps. And by just clicking on them, you can see the different instructions for the respective platform. And so far, we already had a setup of the VS Code documented for GitHub, as well as the organization creation, and also I think the project creation. And also pretty new was the Alpaca JSON. So that's the configuration file within GitHub. It looks a little bit different than what you maybe used from Azure DevOps, but it's also described here how it looks, how it works, and what default configuration are available. and what parameters are there. And the same goes for the artifacts. So we documented the different artifact types, and here again, you will always have some tabs to see how the configuration should look like for GitHub and how it should look like for Azure DevOps. So slightly different here. Please keep that in mind. Apart from that, I hope that you like the new structure, and if you have any feedback for that, please feel free to let us know. Also, you can go back to the presentation. Also, if you want to contribute, the documentation is available on GitHub as well, so you can just create a pull request here and add some stuff that you would like to see in there or that you would like to improve. Okay, so with that, if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A tab now and ask them. And I think we are going to wait 1 minute again and see if any questions are coming in. Okay, so nothing so far. Then the only thing that is left, if you have any ideas, please let us know. If you enjoyed the AlpaCafé, then we hope you will join next time as well. And yeah, apart from that, I'm wishing you all a happy Easter. Yeah, some great weekend and a long weekend. And see you next time, hopefully.